Well, welcome back everybody to Probably Not the Best Garage, part 2 of the epoxy project with the carbon fiber, gauges, switches, all that good stuff. This is going to be a two-part of the part 2. How confusing is that? So, what you're going to see on this first part is going to be the initial layup, the wet end layer, the mixing of the very first epoxy coat, the carbon fiber layup over the top of that, and then the next part will be the finished product right before we move into the second coat. Some little things that you will notice I've got in the bottom. It's going to go a little bit fast. To be very clear, this video is, most of it is sped up 2 times. So it's twice as fast. Take your time. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, leave a like, leave a comment. Check out something else on the channel. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned. I'm going to move on, put some carbon fiber on these, just to show you what we had before. It was this. Okay, these also look like this. And if you look real close, you can see the little grid in the shine there. That's the grid from this bizarre paint job. The guy that had it before me decided this would look better. I thought I agreed with him until I saw the labels that he literally put on it. So we're moving up in the right direction now. I've got another custom panel that's made for this. That's the exact same shape. I've cut out a big slit in the middle of it for the gauges, or for the switch panel, sorry. So we should be able to knock it out pretty quick. We're going to move on, put some of the carbon fiber on it, try to make these look even a little bit cooler than they do right now. Stay tuned. Let's do it. Okay, so here's what I've got. I've got the carbon fiber cloth, all right, and it came in a roll, 36 inches long. I think it was 9 inches tall or something to that effect. But that's what it is. It is very fragile in the fact that these will come unraveled really, really easy. So careful with that one. What I'm going to put it on here with, and just to be very clear, there wasn't a whole lot that I could find on, which particular total boat epoxy to use, or really which epoxy in general to use, which one. So I went with the Total Boat High Performance Epoxy Kit. This is the quart kit, and here's what came in it. It came with the resin itself, came with the hardener, came with 2 of the cups, 2 stir sticks, and then 2 of the primer pumps, I guess if you want to call them that, color coded, which is really important because it's 1 pump to 1 pump, but the actual mixture is 2 to 1. So if you look at the pumps themselves, if you can see, the pumps themselves, one of them is significantly taller, which is the resin one, the blue one. Way taller, much more resin there, and then it's obviously way shorter for the hardener, but it does mix 2 to 1. The other things that I've got just laying here is going to be a paintbrush to wet it on. Pair of scissors. It does cut, the carbon fiber cuts pretty well on scissors. And then the piece is actually up under this one already. The reason I've got it laying here like I did is to kind of get the shape of how I want it to align once it's on the boat. So I put the actual switch panel on the boat. Looks similar to this one. Put it on the boat, or I'll just show you what it looks like. Looks like that. Put it on the boat, and then I got the carbon fiber cloth kind of aligned how I wanted it to look, meaning the grains are going at a certain angle. And I did this because whenever I put this one on, I want it to be pretty much the same kind of consistency all the way across. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scuff it before I put it on here. Remember, it's got the black base coat just like these pieces. I'm going to scuff them up with some probably some 100 grit, maybe some 80 grit, give them something to bite into, and then I'm going to very slowly just start wetting it in. I'll mix it up first, wet it in, let it get just a little bit tacky, and then go for it. So we're going to see how this turns out. This is the first attempt at epoxy in any way, shape, or form. I am standing right next to a window. I'm going to pop that open right before we take off with the mixture and get a good ventilation. There is some windows on the other side of the garage as well. It's actually pretty windy today, so pulling a good draft. And yeah, we'll see how it works. This is do or die. It actually looks moderately nice right now with the black, so hopefully not about to really mess this up, but we'll see. Here we go. So I've got my pieces out. I've got them set up. The one thing I do have to do really quick before we can actually take off, these pumps go for the gallon, so they don't really fit. They're a little long. And it actually shows you in the instructions of how to cut them. You want to cut them at a 45 on the bottom of it, so you try to get all your material out of it. So I am going to cut these real quick. and then we'll get to mixing. Get a little bit nicer gauge of it, somewhat. Really precise measurements are key. Let's try the wire strippers on this one. Big cutter. Cut your fingers. Not responsible for that. There you go. All right, let's mix some epoxy. Get a little lower here. The mixture cups. All right, we're gonna do 2 to 1, so it should measure out okay, just as it is. I mean, you can tell the difference in the nozzles themselves. They're way different. But just to be sure, I'm gonna get a good little gauge here. Go 2 to 1 right there. So to be clear on what priming the pump is, you'll see me pumping this several times. Still going, still going, still going. You see it start to get slow right in here. It's almost ready, but your mixture is really wrong. You'll see that about a half pump right there. So prime it first, squirt it into the lid, even is fine. You can always put it back in, but that's what happens. And then at the bottom, like it says, just an easier way that I've found now is going for 1 pump resin and then 1 pump hardener. Go back and forth. I feel like it gives you a better mixture, which I found out a little after the fact, but nevertheless, there it is. And also make sure you let it come all the way up. As you'll see a couple of these times, it does not do. The other side of doing it, the resin and hardener mix, is it allows that resin pump to come all the way up while you're doing the hardener pump. So definitely works a lot better. Importance of priming a pump. You see it squirt out there. There's 1, 2, 3, and I called this 3.5 to include that little half squirt I had earlier. But the problem is that gave me 8 pumps of resin, 4 pumps of hardener. That was a 4 to 1 mixture, not 2 to 1. So pay attention. Don't overcomplicate it. The Total Boat kit that you're seeing is really simple, and it's made to be simple. So don't overcomplicate it. Still make sure you mix it up. If you do it wrong like what this one is, it's not the end of the world. Don't worry about it. You'll see the end result on the next segment of this video. Just move on with it. It's just going to take a little while. No big deal though. But like I said, just don't overcomplicate it. All right, so here we go. You can see the stuff is already getting pretty thick. It's not setting up by any means, but it's pretty thick. I would also say use a brush you don't care about. So here we go. Let's do a little epoxy for the very first time in my entire life. See how this works. So if you guessed that the process is going to be the same on the next couple of pieces, you're exactly right. Let's speed the video up. Just make sure you get a good coating on everything that you're doing so that carbon fiber has something good to stick to. So let's move on. I've got, the reason I laid it down first, if you can see it. You see the shape in the video maybe? Okay. So I'm going to try to lay it back down just like it was, so I know that shape was how I wanted it. So it's got a good coat on here. I'm not worried about it being too thick because it needs to go through anyway. And really, I think it might actually work a little nicer if it is a thicker coat. I don't know that, but we'll see. Better if I can see. Yeah, let's just lay it up here. It's actually pretty dang close to what I wanted. Okay, now remember as well, because it's already doing it to me. Remember, if you don't want it to move, You better be careful because the carbon fiber, I mean, it'll move around. Just to show you what I'm talking about. Try to leave your pieces symmetrical because you can, the weave itself will move. So try to just go firm pressure downwards, and that's all. I'm gonna lay these other two pieces up here in just a minute. I'm not terribly concerned with this one right now. This is probably the easiest one of the three. I'm gonna get it a little bit, just kind of going in that right direction. Where I can see all my edges. The middle part I'm really not concerned with at all. The middle part is it's gonna have a pretty wide lip over it, so nothing major here. Okay, so that looks all right. I'm gonna slide this one out of the way if I can. Like I said before, a minute ago, I guess, the really key element here is to have this, you know, kind of how it is on the boat. All right, so I'm gonna try to lay these two up here, somewhat like that. That's about how they are. You know, you think of it, steering column goes right here in the middle. So I'm gonna take a piece here, kind of somewhat match it up to where it is there. I'm just gonna lay it on. Now this one is gonna be a little trickier. I'm gonna slide this out of the way for a second. Be a little trickier. We're gonna try to have to move this one. That's gonna drop to the table first. Okay, here's your center holes, right? And then the power button is right there. So you're gonna see me start to just kind of mold this around this particular piece. I'm very gently pushing down on the center of this. And truthfully, I'm not really sure that there was a better way to do this. You're gonna see a different method here in just a minute. But the key is you're seeing me starting to hold it on the edges with my my fingers there. The reason it was trying to kind of twist the grains of the carbon fiber, if you will. And that's not a look I was going for. I would rather everything be just perfectly in line. So that's kind of what I'm doing, just very gently, and you know, back to the thick coat underneath. That really helped in this process. It allowed that carbon fiber to move where it needed to be. So you're about to see a different method here. The idea was to keep it up high, to get the holes filled in first and then try to lay the edges down. I had the idea that this would maybe make the grains stay a little straighter. It turned out to not really make that much of a difference. So really just whatever piece you've got, just roll with it and just deal with what you have there in front of you. I'm not gonna say that one way, at least for these, really made that much of a difference. Now I will say this is, to me, a really complex shape, and the fact that you are laying it down on the outside, you're trying to cave it in on the inside, and also make circles. I mean, this was difficult. I'm not gonna lie, this turned out to be a really difficult project right here. So just kind of make do with what's in front of you. Don't overcomplicate it, but you have the ability to change it. Don't think that you tried one method. You have to stick with it. It's still wet. You can still pull it up and readjust if need be. So don't be scared with that. If you need to adjust, just adjust it. That's right. We're finally at the point that all of you have been waiting for. I know. Sorry it took so long to get here. We're putting the first coat of epoxy on the outside of that carbon fiber. Thank goodness. Couple of things to note. This is the goal of the first coat. Get one solid coverage layer, but you're not going for the pretty layer yet. You want something that has really good coverage all the way across the top of your piece that's going to allow you to sand it off. Okay, get you a nice smooth layer to start that second coat with. So don't be concerned with making it look beautiful on this one. Yeah, of course you want to get some bubbles out and things of that nature later, but don't be fighting the caking it on process. It's not what you're going for. Something you're about to see me do is pick it up. You'll notice I have a lot of excess carbon fiber material on the sides.
that really made it difficult in this particular instance because the table was fighting me. So picking it up definitely sped the process up, as you'll see right around in here. Just kind of let gravity do its work for me. Probably should have started with this, but I didn't. So learn from my mistake. At least get it up on something if you have that ability to do so. And you'll see it's already starting to lay over a lot nicer there. So other than that, just get you a nice constant smooth layer. Like I said, you're not going to win a beauty contest on this first one. That's going to be on coat number 3, maybe 4, that you really start to get a really nice finish. So go for coverage, not for beauty. Move on with it. It'll look nice in the end, I promise. Just hang in there. Really, the only other key element here is to make sure you have a good layer underneath before you ever start this process. Make sure you have a good layer underneath when you start folding those edges over. That's what allows the carbon fiber to stick where you originally started. So you'll see another little panel here. It's the same process for all of them, so I'm just going to move on and kind of show you what we ended up with right about in here. So here's the end result after the first coat is on. You can see it's got good coverage, but it's not totally caked on. It's not even smooth across the top, which is fine. Don't be concerned with that. So in comparison to this panel here, you can see the middle portions of the circles are mangled up. What I ended up doing is this. After all was said and done, this is what I ended up with. The gauges sit a little farther out than they used to. They're not quite as sunk in. The end result, I think, turned out actually okay. And it turned out to really just be a lot of time wasted for me on this particular job to get it to look how I wanted. So just kind of bear in mind, you got different options. Don't always have to just fight and fight and fight. There may be a better way, or may just be a different way that you end up liking as a result. So that's what happened here. Here's the rest of these panels. Just waiting on them to cure up. I'll come back with the next segment of this video, which will be a separate one. Tune in for that. Hope you've enjoyed it thus far.
Did you like that video? I hope so. If you did, leave me a comment, leave a like down below on the video. Check out the rest of the stuff on the page as well. Hope you find something that you enjoy. Maybe something that'll help you out. So part number 2 of this little series is almost done. There's going to be another half of this part 2. Like I said, it's going to be the 2-part of the part 2. So it'll show the completed coat number 1 right before I sand and move into coat number 2. And I tell you this as well, if it's getting a little lengthy, it is going to speed up quite a bit. We're going to move into 2, 3, and 4 on the coats really quick. This was a lot of build up to get to this point. So I hope you stay tuned. Check it out. If, like I said, if it helps you out, leave me a comment down below and let me know. So get out there, have some fun. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.